Hello, bridge builders! I'm here with some exciting news. The first volume of interviews is now available on Amazon.com. The link can be found at eatlunchandboardgame.com. I promise that all proceeds from sales of this book will go right back into this podcast and channel. Whether that is new and better audio equipment for the podcast or video equipment for the YouTube channel, or even more games to review, the money will not be wasted. Click over to Amazon and get your copy of Eat Lunch and Board Game, the first course today. And thank you for supporting the show. All right, welcome back to Lunch and Board Game. I'm your host, Adam Collins, and with me today is game designer John Wick, calling in from the extremely hot Phoenix, Arizona. How are you doing?
Extremely hot.
trying not to melt.
You can literally, and people have done it. You can literally cook eggs on the sidewalk. There's YouTube videos.
Well, I mean, I live in St. Louis. We have our moments. We'll have those days where we'll have like 6 or 7 days in a row of triple digits, and we have a lot of humidity that goes with it. So you walk outside and your clothes just stick to you. So immediately.
I lived a few years in Georgia, and I remember and Minnesota too, and both of those places have very high humidity, and I remember the humidity. And no, thank you.
Yeah,
at least it's a dry heat.
Yeah, it was not too long ago. It was really humid here, and I'm like, you can chew the air. So, you can actually suffocate on air, which seems just really weird to say because, how do you suffocate on air? Well, it's 80% humidity.
Yeah.
So, John, what do you do for the gaming community?
I largely make tabletop role-playing games. I have been doing it since 1995. That's when I actually got started. I was hired by AEG to work on the Legend of the Five Rings collectible card game, and I was, among other duties, it was interesting. It was kind of like a punk rock band, with all of us being able to play each other's instruments to a certain degree. But there is somebody in charge of mechanics, and there is somebody in charge of art, and there is somebody in charge of character and world building, right, and things like that. And that was my job, was the character and world building stuff. And that's how I got my start.
Awesome. So along that lines, I read, I don't even remember which book it was now. I believe it was the Family Top 100 Family Games or something.
Oh, yeah.
And
James Lauder edited that. That was a lot of fun to write for.
Yeah, it's a great book, and I'm slowly working my way to all 200 games. One of the games that was written about was your game, Cat.
Yes, my buddy Jared, who I was just chatting with, wrote that, and it was a role-playing game. It is a role-playing game about cats, household cats, protecting their owners from monsters that their owners can't see. And that, I know. It was a lot of fun. You get to play it in a real life 3D 1-for-1 size scale dungeon called your house, and you play house cats who run around and fight monsters.
Yeah, I believe they're called bogans.
Yeah, boggins.
Yeah.
Boggins. It depends on which side of the Atlantic you're on.
There you go. So we did it at work. I picked it up off of, I will say, Drive Through RPG.
Yeah,
it's relatively inexpensive, and one of my coworkers, she wanted to be the game master, the narrator, and so she spent a week writing up this scenario, and then we played it, and we played it over all in. I think it was about 10 or 11 days over a lunch hour. So we would go in and play for about 45 minutes to just over an hour, and work, had to solve how to take care of all the different bogans that were out there. And I don't have it with me, but I went on Thingiverse and printed off 3D cats of
Oh
four
yeah.
different colors. So we all had our own cat. We had a dog. We had some dire rats that we used for the rats. She found a floor plan of a house that we laid down in the middle of the table, and oh man, it was great. We had a
Yeah,
great time playing this game. So
that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. It was designed to be somebody's first role playing game, but so it's pretty simple. But at the same time, it's also has enough in it to it's kind. I kind of designed it like an old Looney Tunes cartoon, where there's enough, like there's enough for the kids, and then there's subtle things for the adults, that kind of thing. And so yeah, it was designed to be played with families. So I'm glad you guys had fun.
yeah, and I think now that we've kind of run through it once, I might do it with my kids. It was just like I said, we had a blast doing it. She said the hardest part was trying to come up with a reason why a family would immediately go adopt four cats all at once. So we,
Well, my
uh,
partner and I went and adopted 3 cats all at once. So
you know,
we
and
went
it's
in,
always
yeah, we went in wanting to adopt two, and there were two brothers, Tangent and Vector, and then this third cat just came in and just like, you are not leaving without me. And he was right. We couldn't leave without him. So that's how we got our third cat, Piglet.
there. There you go. Yeah, we had the four of us running around and searching out rats and doing using our tail and our magic and trying to go outside, and I mean it was an absolute blast, and we had a great time playing it. We were kind of sad that it ended, but also we ended like 2 days late because the intern had to go back to school, so he didn't get it finished. So
Oh,
I typed it all up, and I scanned in his final character sheet. His character was Slug. Um, we had Slug, Spider, Ringo, and then I was Carmela. So we had a good time, and I had
great cat
Carmela
name.
was an old cat of mine. So she was a calico cat, and you get to draw a picture of your cat in the upper corner.
Yep.
Oh man, we hated it. Like I said, we had a really good time playing it. You have a couple other games. I want to butcher it, trying to say Necromonopoly.
Necronominopoly. Yes. Which is exactly what you think it is. It's Cthulhu Monopoly. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it all downloaded and printed off. I haven't had a chance to read the rules on it yet.
It's pretty crazy. I didn't put a whole lot of thought into like game balance because I was like, it's Necronominopoly. It's crazy. It's weird.
Fits the
Um,
theme.
yep, it fits the theme. Yeah, the
It's,
thing that I was happiest about that really like tears the game completely up is when you run out of sanity, which is what you have instead of money. When you go bankrupt and you run out of sanity, you become a cultist and you start moving counterclockwise around the board, bumping into the other characters trying to win. And I thought that was a lot of fun.
I mean, it sounds great. Like I said, I haven't had time to read the rules and everything. I got the board printed out. I got all the cards printed out. I just haven't had time to go through and read the rules. Um, so work gets in the way of my fun, and it drives me nuts. So
Yeah, I understand.
yeah. So John, how did you get into board gaming way back in the day?
I this is a story I've told many, many, many times, so I'll be very brief. I had $10 in my pocket going to the mall to play in the arcade because I was trying to become really good at Defender.
Ooh,
And yeah, that's an old school shout out. And I happened to stop at Spencer's Gifts before I went to the arcade, and I saw on the shelf the Call of Cthulhu role playing game box, and they weren't supposed to have it. They got shipped by mistake. Nobody knew what it was. And I was like, "How much do you want for this?" And they said, "How much do you have?" And I said, $10. And they said, "Sold." and that's how I got my first role playing game of Call of Cthulhu.
And
And
there you go.
yeah, downhill from there, right?
I've never had 10 whole dollars again. Uh,
Yeah, that's true. I've been working in the game industry for the last 20 years. I haven't had $10 in my pocket forever.
yeah, I like the meme that says teach your kids, how to play board games. They won't have any money to buy drugs.
Yeah,
And that's
true.
that, very right. It's very true. So if I flew out there to Phoenix and decided to try to not melt, what game is currently on your table? What is your current game that your favorite game?
Well, let's see. Since we're talking about board games and role playing games, my favorite my one of my favorite board games of all time is the classic Dune board game. Um, and it just recently got re-released, and we've been some friends of mine and I have been playing that. Uh, and it's one of my favorite board games because it really articulates a lot of game design that I like. It's asymmetrical. It's a faction game where I'm playing the Bene Gesserits and you're playing the Harkonnens and all that kind of stuff. And each faction in the game wins a different plays completely differently, wins a completely different way. That kind of asymmetrical game design that I love. So that, and also I'm a fan of the Dune novel, so that helped a lot. Um,
That doesn't
yeah,
hurt.
that doesn't hurt. I also got a hold of one of the games that I really like. This right here is Marvel United.
I've
I
heard good things. I have not got around to it yet.
I like it. It's very simple. It's a family game. It's 14 and over. And what I like the most about it is that you play Captain America, or you play in the base set. You play one of the Avengers against. I think it's Ultron, because they have the X-Men supplements now and everything for it, right? And a friend of mine, Jesse the Legend Foster, he's got everything. So when we go over to play games at his place, if we don't know what to play, we just pull that out and play that for like 30 minutes because it's fun, it's fast. But the interesting thing is that every character is represented by about, I think it's 10 cards. And each deck for each character, for Captain America, for Hulk, for Iron Man, through those 10 cards, they articulate what that character is about so perfectly.
Hmm.
It's like Captain America is moving people around the board and giving people bonuses. The Hulk just moves to a place and smashes. Iron Man can fly from here to here to here. Hawkeye can hit people from where he isn't. Things like that. And it's just these 10 little cards, and all of the characters, all of them, especially the villains, because you also pick which villain you're facing, like Doctor Doom or Ultron or things like that. And all of the villains have their own victory conditions and loss conditions. So you have to play each of the villains differently. You have to play against each of the villains differently. And that's a lot of fun. And some of them are easier than others. And some of them really sneak up on you. I can't remember who it was that we were like, oh, he just Mysterio in the Spider-Man box, completely, like he wins without you even knowing that he's winning. And it's really neat the way it does it.
That sounds great. And you said it plays in like 30 minutes?
Yeah, it's really quick. It's kind of like Sentinels of the Multiverse,
Yeah.
except on speed.
Okay.
And with a really narrowed rule set. So it plays very fast. When it comes your turn, you know exactly what you're going to do. And the other really cool thing that resembles teamwork, because you're playing a team, is that where I move on the board sets you up on your turn. If you're the next player, sets you up for the bonuses that you get, for the kind of cards you draw. So if I'm thinking about your turn, I want to land on a certain place so that you will get certain cards to make your character work. And that's really cool because it makes it feel like teamwork. Because it is.
Yeah, it's a co-op game, so that's cool. No, I
Yep.
want to definitely see if any of my friends have it.
Yeah, it's also pretty cheap to get on at your game store or at Amazon or whatever.
No, I like I said, I've heard good things about it. I just haven't had time to pick it up. I buy too many other games and forget, and then I buy more
Um,
games and forget.
yeah, as for role playing games, I'm a big fan right now of Free League Publishing. They are doing a ton of really good stuff. I was a huge fan of the old Twilight 2000 role playing game back in the 80s, and they've released a new version of Twilight 2000 that is just really cool. I'm a big fan of it, and uh, a friend of mine wants me to run a Twilight 2000 game, but he said, "But I just want like a little bit of horror, just like a tiny little bit of like just a touch, a hint of horror." And so I've been thinking about how to run that when I'm not playtesting my own role playing games.
Of course. And
Yeah,
you have your friends around to help you play test your own
yeah.
role playing games.
I've got two groups that I like to playtest with, and playtesting. Playtesting is not what a lot of people think it is. A lot of people think that playtesting is playing the game, and it's just not. It's much more complicated than that. For example, I have a new game that I'm working on that I'm not going to talk about yet. But
Fair.
if you're on my Patreon, you've taken glimpses of it. But one of the things I did recently was I playtested the character sheet. I made up a character sheet. I handed it out to everybody, and I said, make characters with the character sheet. Let me know what's missing. Let me know what you need more of. Let me know if you don't use something. Let me know, blah blah. All that kind of stuff. And we went step by step, all made characters together. And at the end of it, I was like, oh, I need to move this over here, and I need to move this over here, and that kind of stuff. And a lot of people, they don't playtest the character sheet, and you can tell. And you know And then there's also people who have the attitude, oh, you don't really need to playtest a role playing game because the GM will take care of that. I'm like, oh, yeah, I can tell by reading your games that you don't playtest
I'm
them.
not a big RPG player. I'm getting into it more and more. I got Cat. I think the next one we're going to play at work is we're going to set up and play Tune.
Tune
Um,
is fun. Tune is a
yeah,
great little role playing game.
yeah, and my D&D campaign, like everybody else's, it kind of fell apart when the pandemic and everybody kind
Yeah.
of But we were playing online, and then it just kind of he quit, went to this company, and she quit, went to that company, and I quit, went to this company, and now then we all worked together originally. We were playing together at lunch, and then now we all work for different companies, and people only got a
Yeah.
couple hours left to finish it. So
It's tough to be an adult and run role playing games.
you could have just stopped with it's tough being an adult.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, yeah. Never grow up, like Tom
yeah,
Waits says.
right. I mean, growing old is not optional, but growing up is, right?
Yep.
So do you
100%
play?
true.
You what?
100% true.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you play games at lunch?
Well, I work from home. So, yes. What I do is, I for lunch I jump on. I get myself a salad because I'm old now, and I jump on my Xbox and I play Left 4 Dead 2, which is a wonderful little co-op zombie survival game, which is about getting from essentially trying to get across the street. And are you familiar with the game at all?
No.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So Left 4 Dead 2 and the original Left 4 Dead, which you can get both of them is the same thing these days, um, is a is a it's a game where there's four players, you have four characters, and you are trying to move from point A to point B on the map with a whole bunch of zombies in your way. And sounds pretty standard, right?
Sure.
Except there are uh, there are special zombies, the special infected, and they trap you. So if one of them grabs you, you can't get out. There is no button mashing. There's no combo. If that's it, you're caught. And it starts eating away your health. And eventually, if nobody comes to help you, they kill you. And so the game is about moving forward. It's about getting to that exit, because you don't get any points for killing zombies. You don't get any points for, anything other than how far did you get in the map. So if I get jumped by a hunter or a smoker or something like that, the three of you have a choice. Do we go back for John, or do we keep moving forward? Right? And the way to win the game is to stick together, help each other out, and you're gonna the only way you're gonna get out of this is together. And so there's things like everybody has a health kit, and you can use the health kit on yourself or on someone else. You have pain pills. You can use the pain pills on yourself, or you can give them to someone else. And so what you see in the game is somebody gets jumped and they get their health knocked down. The other players kill the zombie, pick you up, and hand you pain pills and say, let's go. Or there's a really great example of I was playing Versus, which is a team of 4 playing against a team of 4, but the other 4 are playing all of the special infected. So they're the ones that trap you. And I had gotten to the safe house. I'd gotten to the exit. And there was a guy right outside the exit, and he was down. He can't get up. His wounds have overcome him. And in order for me to get him up and get the points for him to come into the safe house, I would have to leave the safe house, spend time getting him up, because there's a very slow progress bar. And while I'm doing that, I can't shoot. I can't dodge. I can't do anything. The only thing I can do is get you up, which leaves me vulnerable to other zombies. And I'm in the safe house, and we're talking, and it's a guy I never played with before because I'm playing with strangers. And I'm in the safe house, and he sees my silhouette in the safe room, healing myself up, reloading my gun. And he's like, don't you come back out here. Don't you come back. Don't you come back out here. There's a thing and a thing. There's a hunter and a smoker and blah, blah, blah. And I ran out, and I had the grenade launcher, and I ran out and I hit him with the grenade launcher, caused a little bit of damage. There's some friendly fire, but it killed the zombies that were around him. I took the adrenaline shot, which makes me do everything faster. I got him up, I healed him, and we got into the safe house. And suddenly I got an Xbox friend request. Right? And he was like, and because he was like, John J. Wick, don't you come out here. Don't you come out here. Don't you? And then there's this pause while I do all the things, and he goes, oh my God, you can do whatever you want. You can, and I told him, I said, I have a policy when I play this game. I don't leave anybody behind. Ever. That's just the way I play the game. And
I mean, it's a good strategy, a good policy.
It's especially in that game, because again, the only thing you get points for is how far did you get in the map. So, and getting to the safe house is a bonus. So when we play as the survivors, we get a certain amount on the way to the map before the infected kill us, and then we switch. And now we're playing the infected, and you're playing the survivors, and you're trying to get further than we did, because that's the only way to get points. It is a blast to play. It is so much fun, and there's a lot of other stuff. The character design is really good. The banter between the zombie survivors is fantastic. And apparently during the COVID lockdown, it like exploded on Xbox because it was like $5 or something like that. Getting the disc is $5. And I was like, whoa, shit, all my old friends are playing Left 4 Dead 2 again. What's going on here? And there's been a whole resurgence of it. And one of the nice things about it, because I stopped playing it years and years ago, the game came out in 2009, right? Is that none of the new players know any of the old tricks. So I'm like, hey guys, you know the shortcut? And they're like, what? There's a shortcut here? I'm like, yeah, jump where I jump.
So that's newbies. What do they know?
What do they know? Well, they have new tricks. So
well, hey man, old dog, new tricks, right? Try to learn them.
Exactly.
That's all you can do. So if you were going to play a tabletop game at lunch, what would be your go-to 60-minute game?
Oh, gee, that's a really good question. I'm gonna look
That's
around.
why I like to ask it.
Yeah. I'm really enamored right now with like really fast timed games. I have 5 Minute Mystery here. By my because I was showing it to somebody else. 5 Minute Mystery is like one of those little. There's a whole series of them: 5 Minute Dungeon, 5 Minute Mystery, all those kinds of things. They all work very differently, and they're fun little 5 minute games. There's a timer, and you can have the timer on your phone, and then the timer on the phone has different. Oh,
Nah, I
you,
knocked my mic over.
you
I was trying to look up 5 Minute Mystery. I think it's the game I'm thinking of.
Yeah, this is it right here. This is what it looks like.
Yeah, I have 5 Minute Dungeon. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same. Well, it's totally different because you're eliminating suspects, and not like
Oh.
eliminating suspects. You're removing them from consideration, right? Yeah, a lot of fun. I also like the many of the Forbidden games, like Forbidden Desert. Right?
I am so frustrated right now because I want Forbidden Jungle so bad.
Yeah.
And I've got it pre-ordered, and the game shop or the website I ordered from keeps sending me email saying, "Hey, it's back in stock," and I'm like, "I've already ordered it. Just give me my copy." I
Yeah,
love the Forbidden games.
yeah, the Forbidden games are fun, and little games like that. I think little games like that are fun.
Yeah, I mean, and Forbidden Island can be played in 30 minutes.
Yeah,
Forbidden Sky is only about 6 minutes before you die. That game, oh my gosh,
it's hard. Forbidden Skies
it
is hard. However, I love the gimmick that the rocket lights up. That's the best. That
yes,
is the best.
yes, it lights up and goes, and it counts down, beep 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 beep, and then it like goes.
Yep.
Oh man, it is the
That
best. But
that gimmick sold me on the game. Sold me on the game. I think I must have a copy. Went to my local game store and I bought a copy.
I love Forbidden Sky, but my goodness, it is hard.
It's the hardest. I don't know if it's the hardest of the Forbidden games, but it's hard.
It Forbidden Sky is hard because the wind changes direction and blows you off. You're done.
Yeah.
I'm out of rope. See ya. Whee.
Oh, don't be out of rope.
Yeah. It's like good grief. I like it because there's so much to balance. There's your rope. There's your health. You gotta watch the windsock. You're trying to get into the Faraday cages. Trying to build the wires. I love Forbidden Sky. It's just
all
hard.
of the characters are necessary.
Yes.
Like there are characters in the other Forbidden games that you can play without.
The diver. The diver's the worst.
Yeah.
We always laugh like the diver. He only has one function, and it's if you've isolated the last remaining place to get an idol, he can swim over and get it. That's his only function.
Yep.
Otherwise, special power is useless.
And that's part of game design is like sometimes you have 4 really good, solid characters, and you need one more. And you're like, the diver. Okay, we're done.
Yeah.
Right?
He's just so bad. But desert, if you're not careful in desert, you'll run out of sand before you're like, oh, I'm okay. And then all of a sudden you're out of sand and you lost the game. You're like, wait, what happened?
Yeah.
Why is there so much sand? What happened? Yeah, I do. I play those a lot. And they're great because they can play in 30 minutes if you play like Forbidden Island, and then Forbidden Desert takes about 45 and to an hour, and Forbidden Sky it's as long as you can survive until you die.
Yep.
I think I've beaten the game like once or twice. I've lost every other time. So how about a hidden gem game? A game that you just don't think enough people know about?
I was just thinking about that. Oh, you know what? I just got Hold on one second. I just got a role playing game. There's a role playing game called. There's a role playing game called Broken Compass, right? And it's a pulp adventure role playing game that takes a lot of was drawing a lot of the same water from the same well that I was for Seventh Sea for my swashbuckling adventure game, and the 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 production values on it are really cool. Every book looks like a leather bound journal, and there's a lot of really good stuff in there. And I was reading through it. I got it. I got the core rules at my local game store. I brought it home. I read it. The next day, I went out and I bought the rest of the books. It's a lot of
It's
fun.
like I said, you can't have $10 in your pocket.
Yeah, no, you can't have $10 in your pocket. That's just waiting to be spent. Even if it's on dice, I need more dice. You never
I
have
just
too many
picked up
dice.
I just picked up some dice over the weekend. One of the local game stores was having a garage sale where they were just like clearing out all their junk, and I went on Sunday where it's like $10 for like a bag, and you whatever you can fit in the bag, $10.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I'll take some more dice. I don't really need dice, but why not?
Yes, you do. You always need dice. You always need more dice. That's the rule, sir.
Oh man, Broken Compass. I'll have to look into that one.
Yeah, it's fun.
Oh, it's by Simon.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I'll definitely look into that. So put that on my list where I can't have $10. So how about Kickstarter, John? Do you ever get into Kickstarter?
I do. I like supporting. I don't really support uh, like bigger projects. I like supporting small projects uh, from people who clearly are like, "Hey, this is our first project," type thing. And so I when I go to my comic store every Wednesday, there's a joke about my indie cred, right? It's like how many Marvel and DC comics have I bought versus how many of these other, independent, things have I bought. And I try to keep my indie cred high. I'm an old, punk rock kid from the 80s, from the 70s and 80s. And, I'm into the do it yourself and, and all the rest of it. So to me, Kickstarter is kind of like a mixed blessing. On one hand, it can really mess you up, and I speak from experience. On the other hand, it allows smaller creators a place at the table.
Yeah,
So
yeah. What it started out as getting the small people a chance to play at the big kids table, right? And now it's CMON puts their games up on there, and it's a pre-ordering service for them.
yeah, and that's what it's become. It's become an advertising marketing. Yeah, let's do that. Advertising.
You heard it here first. We're coining it, trademarking it, moving on.
And it's funny. I do my word of the day videos for YouTube. I do a word of the day every day. And the other day I talked about ineptitage, which is a word I think I coined. I think I may have heard it somewhere else. So, I'm going to be uncertain and not make any claims. But essentially, it's when you can't tell whether somebody is deliberately sabotaging a project or they're just so incompetent that they don't know what they're doing.
I most of the time I'm going to go and column B there. From
what is the
experience.
quote? Never attribute to malice, which can be attributed to stupidity.
Yeah. I'm going to go with option B there from many past experience. Yeah, I like Kickstarter. I just backed another one today, but I shy away from those big $100,000-$200,000 campaigns. They don't need my money.
Pretty much.
And if the game is actually good, I'll tell you what, a lot of times I've been kind of burned on the big games too. that just something about them. I recently got one I was super stoked on, had great table presence, and my son and I played it, and I'm like, I would rather just play Pandemic. This
Oh,
is the same itch of Pandemic, but I've already got Pandemic. I've got all the expansions of Pandemic. I'd rather just bust out Pandemic and play it rather than this. This game has a lot of finicky moving parts, but it's just a different skin on Pandemic basically. And I'm like, I spent how much, and I was like, but then every now and then, I get involved in those small ones, like the small companies that all of a sudden they have to be like seriously sitting there at their desk going, oh my god, we did how much?
yeah. That's what's
Holy
happening with
cow!
in a funny way, in a good way, because I love him to death. Rob Schwab's new Weird Wizard RPG just kind of exploded, and he keeps
Yeah,
posting pictures on his Facebook with his like completely like worried, panicked face. And I'm like,
yeah,
don't worry, man, it'll be fine.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I use Kickstarter for my projects. We got one coming up later this year, and somebody's, one of our friends, my partner and I, or my business partner and I, were talking, and they're like, "Well, what happens if you do like 5,000 copies?" Like, first of all, I'll freak out. Second of all, I'll have the money to get help.
Yep.
I'm like, we are not set up to do 5,000 copies, but if it happens, then I'll have the money to pay people to help me out. I'll tell you, do you get a lot? So do you get a lot into the print and play ones? Because that's the ones that I think are like the best idea ever. You create a print and play, sell it for $5, and you put it on your Dropbox.
Yeah.
No shipping.
I have a card game in my head that I want to do, and I can't do it without an incredible art budget, like
Yeah,
a big honking art budget. And
I can see that.
and the stupid AI thing is like, come to me. I will make all the art you need. And I'm like, oh, screw off you.
Yeah. How
But
about no?
yeah, how about no? But it's one of those games that I think I would like to do as a print and play game. And then have, really like really simple, clip art as is the thing, and go, hey, I want to do this as a real game, but this is the concept, right? It works. You can play it. $5, it's yours. And then,
Yeah.
if it really takes off, then I could probably pitch it to a game company and go, hey, look, I did this with
Yeah,
clip
and
art.
that's kind of where we're at, is like, do we, we've got a lot of good ideas that are just kind of floating around out there. And I've got a print and play that I'm working on, but like, man, I'm not like, we did a print and play. I mean, I back a lot of, if it's $5 or under, I'm in. Like, because if I play it one time, I got my money's worth out of it.
Yeah.
If I play a $5 game one time, and this one was a big one, and so it was a centralized board, four of us, four players. So I had four players. All we had to supply, I put it off at 11x17, the center board, put it down, and we supplied. Everybody had their own colored pencil and 3 dice. And the biggest problem with the game was the downtime between turns. And so it took us 2.5 days to play this roll and write, which was insane
Oh,
because it
yeah.
was 2.5 hours, and it's like, oh my gosh! But it was a really fun game. I'm like, I feel like if they would have play tested it just a little bit more and could figure out a way to speed up the build action, because the build action is what really just dragged this game down. Because if I built, then my turns are going to take like 3 minutes, and there's nothing for you guys to do.
Yeah, it's weird how people prioritize, like there's um there's a role playing game that I'm gonna sound like I'm talking smack about, but I own it and I like it. Right? It's called Blades in the Dark. like it, own it, have like all of the Blades in the Dark, games,
Sure.
Forged in the Dark games. But and the reason I got it is because I am a huge Thief fan. I love thieves. I read all the Richard Stark Parker novels. I've got my whole wall full of con men, fiction and nonfiction, all kinds of stuff. And one of my favorite shows growing up was Mission Impossible. And when you watch
Yeah.
Mission Impossible, the first half of the show is them planning, and the second half of the show is the plan going wrong, right? And them having to improvise. And I'm like, I wanted to make a role playing game that did that. And I did. It's called Wilderness of Mirrors, and it's a spy game. And I made planning a mechanic in the game, and then the GM uses your plans and does stuff, against you and things like that. And I got Blades in the Dark, and one of the things it said on the back was, we've eliminated the boring part, the planning. And I was like, that's my favorite part. And that just goes to show you that role-playing games, like everybody's like, well, this is the right way to play role-playing games. No, there's not. There are wrong ways to play role-playing games, but there is no ultimate right way to play role-playing games, right? And clearly, Blades in the Dark is written and played by people who are bored by the planning part. Planning part is my favorite. So my Thief game, the planning part is a big part of it and has a big mechanic to it, and and sets up the actual heist, right? So, and that's okay. There's 31 flavors of ice cream for a reason. You aren't wrong because you don't like my favorite flavor.
You may not be right, but you're not wrong.
Well, I'm always right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Never mind my imposter syndrome. It's sitting right over here. Just ignore it. Just ignore it.
Don't worry about that.
You got to fight it somehow, right?
Absolutely. Oh man, but yeah, it's funny. People, that's why there's a whole bunch of games that I'm not a big fan of that people are like, oh my gosh, I bet you like this game, and I'm like, I really don't.
And you know what?
And like it, and I'm like,
and that's the thing about saying, it's the difference between saying this is a bad game and I don't like this game. The first one, if you say this is a bad game, I have to say how, right? I need more information, right? But if you say I don't like it, I can't tell you that you're wrong. You're right. You don't like it, but we can talk about why you don't like it. And then I can go, oh, okay. Adam doesn't like these kinds of games.
Yeah. And that's what
Right.
I find exactly, like, because, my podcast, obviously Lunch and Board Game, I like games I can play in a lunch hour because I can play them with my coworkers and we go back to work. I'm not saying if a game's over 60 minutes, I'm not going to like it or I'm not going to play it. One of my favorite games takes 80 minutes. No matter how many times we play it, no matter how many players we have, we cannot get it in a lunch hour.
Do you know about War of Whispers?
War of Whispers. No.
Yeah. It's a board game. It's the Game of Thrones board game, but instead of playing the armies, you're playing the spy networks. So at the beginning of the game, there's 5 factions, and you get dealt out 5 cards that are face down, and one of them is for each faction, right? And the way that they're organized in front of you is one faction is +1, which means you get a point whenever this faction gains a territory. Then there's actually it's +2 and then +1 and then 0, and you're kind of like, I don't care about these guys at all. And then there's a -1 faction, which is screw these guys in particular, because you lose a point for every region they have at the end of the game. The game has 4 rounds. The first time you play it, of course, it's going to take longer, right? Because but when we play it, it takes us about an hour to play, because you once you're done with 2 turns, the game's half done. And you're like, oh man, I got to start moving, right? I have a lot of fun with that game.
No, I just pulled it up, and its tagline is manipulate empires from the shadows as you outwit and outmaneuver the competition. 30
Yes,
to 60 minutes, 2 to 4 players. Sorry, honey. I think I found another game I'm going to buy.
it's great because
You
you
can
are the
you can
spy
blame
network.
John.
So you are telling the Red Army, hey, by the way, it's totally safe to move west. Totally. So you're moving the armies around based on whether you have influence on them or not.
Huh.
And oh, it's really fun.
No, it looks great.
You want another one?
I mean,
Okay, this
yeah,
is a
my
little.
pocketbook can't take it, but
Well, this one's actually really cheap. This is one that
Oh,
Jared
perfect.
Sorensen and I designed and released at Gen Con this year. It's called Play. It is an analog horror role playing game. Are you familiar with analog horror? Okay.
No.
It's a trend on YouTube and other things. It's uh, it's a lot like Stranger Things in that it is horror that involves technology from the past. So kind of like the videotape from The Ring,
Okay.
or if you've seen the YouTube series The Backrooms, which if you haven't, you absolutely should. Or if you've seen the film Skinamarink, which no one should watch because it is absolutely terrifying.
I think I'll avoid that then.
Yeah, if you are not a horror fan, you should not watch Skinamarink. If you are a horror fan, you should consider watching Skinamarink. Okay, but anyway, so the way the game works, the premise of the game is that of the role playing game is that you are playing characters who have been hired by this shady organization to watch VCR tapes, and there is something on the VCR tapes, right? And what they want you to do is record what you see. So the versions that we sold at Gen Con came in an evidence bag with a VCR cassette case, the old tortoise cases, and an old VCR remote control. And the way the game works is that you are in a role playing game where you are pretending to watch a videotape, and the person who has the remote control is called control. It's called control, and control can press play, which means the video starts, and control starts narrating what is on the video. And then somebody else can say pause. They get the remote control, and then they can hit play, and they start narrating what's on the thing. You can
Interesting.
There's also a deck of cards that have prompts like an old spooky barn, an abandoned parking lot, uh, you know, a cornfield, things like that. And then you can also hit rewind, which means you go back to a previous card and re-watch that part of the tape. And you can also hit fast forward and jump forward in the tape. And then the goal of the game, because the final button you can hit is eject.
Oh,
You eject the tape. And the goal of the game is to get someone to press eject.
so kind of like what was the storytelling game Once Upon a Time when you
Yeah,
have like the different words and you're trying to sneak them into the.
that's exactly what it is. It's a storytelling game where the talking stick, because that's how storytelling games work, is the remote control that you
That's
pass
awesome.
around.
So how can I get a copy of this?
If you go to memento dash let me memento dash mori.com, mementomori.com, uh, you can get you can get a PDF copy of Play. I will even send you a link.
Yeah, I will put that link in the show notes for anybody who wants to go get this because I think it sounds like a blast.
Yeah, and it takes, you were talking about a 10-minute game, right?
And
Or
yeah,
an hour long game, a lunch long game. And that's definitely something you can play during lunch. It's also one of the things I'm really really proud of. It's the way the game works is really fun, and it invokes the kind of creepy spookiness that we wanted out of it.
no, I mean, sounds great. And like I said, we had a really great time playing Cat. So I'll be like, hey, it's the same guy that wrote Cat. And they'll be like, all right, let's do it.
It is a horror game, just so you know.
Oh yeah, there it is. $5 for PDF. Boom.
Yep.
Something is on these tapes. We don't know what it is. We need you to watch them and take notes. However, please be safe.
Yep. There is a consent form in the front of the book.
No.
Yeah. You are about to engage in something that is deliberately a game where your friends are deliberately trying to creep each other out.
Maybe. Well, we'll see what happens. I work
But
with a
the other
bunch of
thing, so
engineers.
Jared and I were talking too, is that the other thing is like, we could do this with 80s/90s erotic thrillers. Like,
Yeah,
I just want
body
to
heat.
fast forward to the sex scene.
Yeah,
I just fast forward to this.
body heat. See how many people get uncomfortable and hit eject.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the game. And then we're working on other stuff too.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So I have two more questions I want to make sure we get in before I let you go. When playing a game, what color do you prefer to play as?
Red.
Red? I can see that.
Okay.
It's usually the guy that likes to go in and lay down the law. I am red.
Or black. Everybody wants to be Mr. Black, and nobody's gonna back down.
I played Wingspan last night, and I didn't know there was red, so I grabbed purple, and then I set up my board and realized, oh man, I could have been red.
Yeah.
Guess I'm purple. And last, how do you pronounce Klaus Teuber's game, The Settlers of
Catan?
Excellent. Perfect. See? Even out there in Arizona, you guys get it right. So it's Canadians
What's
that get it wrong.
the other way to say it?
Catan.
Catan? Oh, okay.
Yeah. My son deliberately says Catan.
I think that's the correct answer. Is how does he pronounce it?
Catan. I didn't talk to Klaus before he passed away, unfortunately, but I did talk to Pete Finland, who is the CEO of Catan Studios, and he said Catan. And for me, that was pretty much it.
I mean, but then again, the guy who created them pronounces it GIFs.
Yeah, he's wrong.
Yeah, he's just wrong. Thank you for inventing them, but you're wrong.
You did a great thing, but you just pronounced it incorrectly. So, John, if you want to reach out to you, how can they do that?
They can go to my Patreon at patreon.com/thejohnwick. There are exclusives that I do. There was a magazine I was doing called Wicked Words, which has a whole bunch of articles and games, tons of little role-playing games. There's an exclusive role-playing game on my Patreon right now called Banners, which is my multi-generational kind of like it's a multi-generational knights and lords and ladies and many gods. It's like the land of 1,000 gods, and that's a lot of fun. So just tons of stuff on there, including advances on my videos that I put up on my YouTube, which is, I think I'm still The Real John Wick on YouTube. And that's where you can find me.
Excellent. And I'd like to thank you for being on my show today. It's been great talking with you. And like I said, looking forward to Necronomanopoly. And
as a matter of fact, Jared and I were just saying today, we were chatting today, he was like, what are you doing with Necronomanopoly? And I was like, nothing really. And he's like, you should totally redo it. And I'm like, oh, well, now there's two people in one day. That's got to be a sign from Cthulhu, right?
There you go. Yeah. Oof. If you're getting signs from Cthulhu, I think you got other problems going on, buddy. So, but yeah, we played cat. We loved it. I'm gonna work on putting together a scenario to play with my kids. We got a cat running around the house somewhere. That dude, man. So my daughter named him when she was 2. So his name is Meow, and
a perfectly acceptable cat name.
Right. It's awesome because it actually, because when he comes up and meows at you, it's like he's just telling you his name, which is just kind of like hilarious. So, but yeah, he's a bizarre little dude. I've had cats pretty much my whole life. And he is by far like the weirdest of all the cats I've ever had. He just does weird things. So
there's another game because it's coming up on October on Halloween, but after Halloween is Christmas. And there is a wonderful little role-playing game that you can play with your kid called The Secret Lives of Gingerbread Men. And it is a role-playing game done by Annie Rush, which is about gingerbread men come to life during the 12 days of Christmas, run around your house and have adventures, and you bake the character sheet. The gingerbread men are your character sheet.
That's awesome.
It's a
Is
wonderful game.
Is that on Drive Through RPG?
I think so. I don't remember.
I'll
But
have to look
yeah,
for
just
it.
do a Google search for it. You'll find it.
Yeah, absolutely. But Cat, real quick, Cat is on Drive Through RPG. Just go to drivethroughrpg.com, search John Wick Cat, and it'll come right up.
There's two ways you can get it. You can get it individually, or you can get it part of my book called The Big Book of Little Games, which has 10 role-playing games in it.
Well, I just bought the straight up version.
You can do that. Yes, please.
Yeah, and I 45 whole pages, $5.99, totally worth it. Good times. Give it a shot. Give it a play. You get to play Cat. I had a legendary leg, so I was doing all kinds of jumps and flips, and I was the flipping master at the end there, running all kinds of distractions. All runs off D6. That's the other advantage. Nothing crazy. It's all D6 based. So we had a blast, and we just had so many D6s out. And when one of the guys touched it and rolled terribly, we just put those D6s aside and grabbed new ones.
As you do, because we call them traitors.
Yeah, we would not let George touch our dice. We made George bring his own dice.
You shouldn't let me touch your dice. I have the curse of the dice gods.
Oh, man. George would be rolling like 6 dice and roll all 2s. It's like, how, man? You needed like 1 5 to make this work, and you rolled all 2s. So, but yeah, give it a shot. Give it go find it. Give it a whirl. It's a lot of fun. And as usual, if you guys want to reach out to me, it's eatlunchandboardgame.com. Facebook.com/eatlunchandboardgame. And you can always email me at eatlunchandboardgame@gmail.com. And remember, board games build bridges. When you're gaming, why not be comfy? Go over to supportplayer.org. Click on the cards, pieces, and dice to get some merch. These t-shirts are some of the most comfortable I have ever worn. That's supportplayer.org, and there's a link on eatlunchandboardgame.com.